Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to start our sixth FAO CactusNet webinar today. And today the topic is really interesting. It's about cactus bioenergy potential for the drylands. We have a great line of speakers today. And just before we start, I would like to mention a little bit about the CactusNet network. Most of you might be aware of CactusNet, but we are a global network with more than 500 members, and we discuss several things related to cactus. This, like I said, this is our sixth webinar. We had already several ones, and the idea is to keep doing this to promote and discuss the cactus. And today we are going to have, well, I forgot to mention Makiko Taguchi couldn't be here today, and she asked me to replace her. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm José Dubé. I'm professor at the University of Florida. And I'm also part of the CactusNet, mostly working on fodder. But I'm also very interested on this biomass and bioenergy for cactus. So I'll start with the introduction of our first speaker. The first speaker is Olivier Dubois. Olivier is a senior natural resources officer and coordinator of Energy Smart Food Program on the FAO Office of Climate Change, Biodiversity and Environment. Olivier is an agronomist, is a land use and natural resource management specialist, and has a master in agronomy, certificates in tropical agriculture, rural economics and sociology from the Faculty of Agronomy of Gembloux in Belgium, and a master in environmental management from the European Community Environment Program. He has worked on land use intensification, forest management, and institutional aspects of rural development worldwide, through both long-term assignments with the Belgian Development Agents and Enabel, the German consulting company, Dutch Forest Service, and the International Institute for Environment and Development in FAO, and several short-term missions, including for the World Bank and the European Commission. In addition, while in FAO, Olivier coordinated the FAO Bioeconomy Program for 5 years. So Olivier, welcome. The floor is yours. Please take it away.
Thank you for this comprehensive introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this meeting. I was asked to make a broad presentation on biogas, what's the status, the challenges and opportunities, and a bit explain what FAO is doing about it. And is it changing? My slides are not moving. Okay, it's changing. So basically, this is a slide which shows you the trend and the fact that Europe is the first producer of biogas, closely followed by Asia. There's been a huge increase in the last 15, 20 years in the use of biogas, in Asia, especially China, up by 16%. But the global potential of biogas could be quite high, as much as 6% of global primary energy supply. And yet, only a fraction of the biogas potential is currently exploited, less than 15% in Europe, less than 5% in Asia, and even less in other regions. This just compounds what I was saying, is that biogas is really about 2% of the current use of energy of renewable energy worldwide. There are different types of biogas systems. This is the one on household level biogas. There's quite a lot of experience on that, especially in Southeast Asia and Asia. And this table comes from IRENA. It shows you the areas where household biogas has comparative advantages, which are primarily the cooking time when it's used for cooking, and environmental benefits, which are on the right side of this slide. Whereas, for example, in terms of affordability and links to cultural habits and so on, the biogas, and especially anaerobic biogas, is less performant. And there has been a tendency to move away actually from household biogas to kind of middle level, village level, and industrial level biogas. This is a slide which shows you the trend in China. China has like more than 40 million household biogas, but lately, in the last 10 years, they've moved away from household biogas to more like medium to large biogas plants. One reason being that, you know, farmers are not specialists in energy, and so sometimes the performance of household biogas is not really that good. But also it's difficult to provide service to so many farmers who want to do biogas by themselves. That's for the larger biogas operations, especially the industrial ones. One challenge is to ensure enough supply of good and affordable feedstock with all the logistics linked to that, but also how to manage in one place huge amounts of waste. So maybe one way to address that is to go for more middle level size units of biogas production. Actually, one conclusion from our work and analysis is that challenges and opportunities exist with all sizes of biogas, and they can coexist. Actually, it depends on the local conditions, you know, energy needs, available feedstock, stage of agriculture development, so that there's enough feedstock, degree of urbanization, and so on. And maybe one way to think about biogas development is to have household scale in very remote areas and other types elsewhere. And maybe one way to address the challenges of the large scale is to have several middle scale instead of one large scale to reduce, you know, the pollution risks and transportation of feedstock costs. What matters actually is that biogas benefits are realized for people and the environment in a sustainable way. And you can achieve that with the three scales, I would say: household, middle level, and industrial level. Now, some examples. This is my last slide of what FAO has been doing on biogas. We've been working a lot on biogas for the last 20, 25 years, but more recent experience concerns, for example, the collaboration with China's Biomass Research Center. We participated in high-level dialogues on lessons from biogas in Asia, and we are now developing with them some guidelines on biogas used from agriculture residues, and more specifically rice straw. We've done some interesting work on the assessment of biogas potential from agriculture residues in all provinces in Egypt and Turkey. And this is interesting because it's a very good way to use the residues, which otherwise would go to landfill or be burned. And so this is an interesting way to reduce these risks. We've done some comprehensive cost-benefit analysis of biogas systems from milk cold chains in Tanzania, Kenya, and Tunisia. And biogas is this very interesting aspect, is that the co-products, the byproducts of biogas can be used, for example, as biofertilizer. But one thing that we need to be aware of is that biogas systems require water, so more or less the same amount of water as the amount of manure. And so this kind of comprehensive cost-benefit analysis looks at all these aspects. Then we also did some work on the use of sustainable bioenergy indicator from the Global Bioenergy platform to assess biogas status in Vietnam, and more recently some surveys on lessons learned from biogas in different continents. In 2020, last year basically, we did the assessment of biogas potential also in Rwanda, because it has been studied a lot, but it hasn't taken up in Rwanda. And so we looked at why is it not taken up. And we also have some field projects going on, for instance, in China and Turkey. So to conclude, there's a lot of good biogas out there, but there's a huge potential to do a lot more. There are challenges and opportunities with all types of biogas, and these can coexist. The choice should be made according to local circumstances and involve all relevant stakeholders in the biogas value chain. We need to consider maybe biogas in combination with other types of bioenergy and other types of renewable energy. And really, using the biogas byproducts is very good for food systems and farmers and food chain actors. And FAO has quite a lot of experience on biogas, and we are ready to share that with others and provide more support. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Olivier, for the talk. We're gonna go ahead with the next talk, and I want I want you to please put your questions in the chat box. You're gonna have time at the end of all the presentations for a question and answers session. So please put your questions in the chat box as we move forward with the other presentations. And I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the next speaker, Dr. Durban Nupan. Durban is a postdoctoral scholar at the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology at the University of Nevada here in US. Durban has a bachelor's degree in agricultural science from Tribhuvan University from Nepal, master in environmental technology from Teesside University, United Kingdom, and a PhD in environmental science from the University of Nevada, where he's a postdoctoral scholar in the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. His current research is focused on expanding the use of prickly pear cactus, Opuntia indica, as a highly water use efficient, highly productive, and climate resilient biomass feedstock for semi-arid regions. Durban is the author of several publications on bioenergy crops, such as Opuntia and Camelina sativa, and the reviewer of several journals, including Sustainability, Agronomy, Climate, Biology, Hydrology, among others. Durban, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for such nice introduction. And today I'm going to talk about the cactus pear, a promising bioenergy feedstock for arid land. We are facing global climate crisis due to increasing temperature and increasing drought, and that lead to the expansion of dry land in future. Currently, arid land cover about 42% of the Earth surface, and which is predicted to increase in future. So, to account for the issue of climate crisis and to take the full advantage by utilizing the increasing dry land, we need to grow some kind of crop species such as CAM species, which is crossulation acid metabolism, which is a type of photosynthetic adaptation that uptake carbon dioxide at night to minimize the water loss during the daytime. And these CAM species are highly water efficient, and they use only 20% of the water used by other crops, still produce comparable biomass. The panel, lower panel to the right, show the biomass production of selective CAM species. We show intermediate range of biomass production between C3 and C4. And one of the alternative CAM species, which is highly drought tolerant and highly water use efficient, is Opuntia species, which use only 20% of the water demand by other traditional crops. Still, they produce very high biomass, and the biomass productivity of Opuntia range from 10 to 47 megagram per hectare per year. And Opuntia species has multiple uses. Generally, they are grown for fodder and forage production, and they are also grown for food consumption by human. For example, young cladwood, which is also called nopalitos, and fruits called tuna, they are used for human food consumption. And also, they are also used for ethanol production and biogas production as well. And other uses of cactus pear are shown in the figure here. This map shows the geographical distribution of Opuntia ficus indica with the center of diversity in central Mexico, and from there it is spread throughout the arid and semi-arid region of the world. Again, this map is the global map of the potential distribution of Opuntia ficus indica. The region indicated by red color here show the potential growing region of Opuntia indica, ficus indica, and that includes the country which are highlighted here. And potential distribution region of Opuntia ficus indica lies in the tropic and mid-latitude zone of the world, between 10 and 45 degrees north and south of the equator. This is the map that shows the biomass production of Opuntia species across different geographical locations of the world at different precipitation levels. As we can see, biomass production of Opuntia ranges from very low, which is reported in Bikaner, India, that is 0.08 megagram per hectare, up to 23.8 megagram per hectare, which is reported in Northeast Brazil. And the biomass production from our long-term field trial from Logandale, Nevada, was 11.6 megagram per hectare per year, with a very low planting density of 1,418 plants per hectare. This map shows the Opuntia field trial in USA. There are two field trials. One field trial that was conducted in Logandale, Nevada, which lies in the southern Nevada, and other field trial which is in progress in Parlier, California, which is near by the Fresno. Here, from our long-term field trial of Opuntia in biomass productivity and water input response of cactus pear as a bioenergy field stock, we evaluate the biomass production of three Opuntia species: Opuntia ficus indica, Opuntia coccinifera, and Opuntia streptocanther. These are the cladwood of three different species that we use, and these are the fruits of three different Opuntia species. This is our Logandale field site, and this figure shows the response of irrigation on dry matter production. And from our long-term field trial, what we found that the biomass production of Opuntia species across average across three different Opuntia species was 11.6 megagram per hectare per year, using only 417 millimeter of water, and that biomass production was drastically increased up to 68.5 megagram per hectare in year 5, which makes sense because Opuntia species being perennial in nature, they take at least 4 to 5 years for field establishment and for getting optimum production, for higher production. And our biomass production of Opuntia species was higher than the biomass production of Americana, agave Americana, by 10% under comparable planting density, but using 25% less water. The reason for comparing our biomass productivity with biomass productivity from agave Americana was that is only the feedstock competing for bioethanol production, and this is only the field trial for dryland field trial in the USA. Here, we evaluate the effect of irrigation input on dry matter production and water use efficiency. And from here, what we found in panel A and panel C, that show the cloud dry matter and the total dry matter, which include fruits that increase linearly with increasing irrigation from low to high. However, from panel B and the panel D, which that show the cloud water use efficiency and total water use efficiency, water use efficiency was highest at the intermediate irrigation level of 417 millimeters. And this water use efficiency agreed with the water use efficiency reported for field trial from Agave Americana using comparable planting density and using 25% less water. And next, we also evaluate the effect of a year on biomass production, above ground biomass production. As I already mentioned, Opuntia being perennial in nature, they take a couple of years for field establishment and 4 to 5 years for optimum production. So panel A so that the clado dry weight increase following a power curve. In 5th year, the clado dry weight increased by 111-fold compared to the first year, and that again makes sense. As the plant grows larger, they have the ability to intercept large amount of photosynthetically active radiation, and that leads to the higher biomass production. So in panel B, that show the fruit dry weight over year, and fruit dry weight increased by 9.1-fold in year 5 compared to year 1. And again, Opuntia species tree take at least 4 to 5 years to produce, optimum fruits. Next, we also evaluate the above ground biomass productivity of Opuntia in response to irrigation. Panel A show the clado dry weight, and the panel B show the fruit dry weight. And we can see that clado dry weight and the fruit dry weight increase linearly with increasing irrigation from low to high, and the increase was 1.8-fold for clado dry weight and 2.1-fold for fruit dry weight, respectively. However, we did not find any difference among the biomass productivity from different species. And also, wind breakage, wind damage has a significant impact on the extent of the limb breakage and the need for improved orchard management in wind-prone areas. Because our field trial in Logandale is sometimes very, windy. So to account for that, we documented the number of limb breakage for plant in year 5 after series of windy storm, and we found that the number of limb breakage was affected by irrigation level as well as different Opuntia species. And with respect to the irrigation, the number of limb breakage increased as irrigation level increased, and the higher number of limb breakage at higher irrigation rate could be due to the greater turgidity of the clado. Interestingly, we found that Opuntia coccinifera are highly tolerant to limb breakage by wind compared to Opuntia streptacantha, which is highly susceptible. And Opuntia ficus indica, the number of wind breakage lies in the intermediate, range between Opuntia coccinifera and Opuntia streptacantha. And the difference in the number of limb breakage among different species, we don't know exactly the reason, but that could be due to the anatomical and biochemical differences among different species. We are also working on, exploring the bioenergy potential estimate of Opuntia ficus, species in USA from our Logandale field trial. As we all know that the cellulosic biethanol conversion efficiency of 2.6% was reported in literature. However, for economic viability, a conversion efficiency of 4% is considered standard. We are also looking to estimate the biogas production from our, Opuntia species, and one of the previous study from Penizio et al. 2020 found that, Opuntia ficus indica digested with slaughterhouse wastewater improve the biogas production and methane content, which is shown here. Using 75% slaughterhouse wastewater and 25% of Opuntia ficus indica clados, they were able to get, higher biogas and methane content compared to the biodigester they use. This is the table that shows the theoretical bioenergy estimate from our Opuntia field trial. These two upper rows show the biogas production estimate, and two rows on the bottom show the bioethanol production estimate from our field trial using two different irrigation level of maximum 716 millimeter per year and 300 millimeter per year. Also, current ethanol yield from Opuntia ficus indica are not economically viable due to low concentration of released fermentable carbohydrate. So Blair et al. In 2021, she conducted a study to account for the biodegradability of cladode. And what they did, that they used soil microbial consortium that consisting of 18 eubacterium and fungal genera characterized under anaerobic condition, and and isolation was done, using molecular barcoding and species identification. And among all those 18 different species tested, they found that Lactobacterium cacticida was the most effective degrader of the cladode for improved bioethanol production. There are several barriers to the cactus production. Our lab is working efficiently to develop effective strategy to overcome barrier to production that include Opuntia stunting disease, as well as also working to develop effective integrated pest management program to control cochineal insects. If you'd like to know more about our project, you can watch. We have like 3 videos here. You can watch on this link provided here. We are also working to understand the Opuntia species genetic diversity, closely working with USDA ARS, National Arid Land Plant Genetic Resource Unit, to evaluate the genetic relationship among 269 Opuntia accessions and resolve specific designation using molecular phylogeny. We have already completed sequencing of 270 accession, and the chloroplast genome size of our sequence accession ranges from 149 to 154,000 base pair. And this is example of one of the chloroplast genome of Opuntia coccinifera that we use as a reference genome for our phylogenetic analysis. Next, another approach to know the genome size estimation was using flow cytometry. And from our survey of 269 Opuntia accession, we found that about 60% of Opuntia accession have undergone some kind of polyploidation events. And our ploidy level range from diploid up to begin ploid, which is 20 ploid, which is very interesting. And the smallest genome size among all of our accession that we used in our survey was for the Opuntia coccinifera, the accession accession number TX1308. With this, I'd like to acknowledge my PI, my co-PI, my lab member, and all the funding agency. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Duba, for the excellent presentation. We hold the questions for the question and answer session, but please keep putting your questions in the chat box. We have several very interesting questions that we're going to address most of those at the end of these speakers. So our next speaker is Miguel Ángel Aque Madeira. He's a co-founder from Nopalimex in Mexico. And Miguel is an electrical engineer, entrepreneur, and writer. In his professional career, he has been part of several research projects and held various administrative positions at the National Polytechnic Institute of Mexico, as well as in other educational institutions. In 2009, his company started with nopal plantations and the construction of an industrial plant that included biodigester, cleaning equipment, and electric generator, and carry out operational tests. Miguel is also the director of the National Technological Institute of Mexico and director of the Technological Institute of Iztapalapa, and he's also author of 2 books in the field of the renewable energies and nopal biogas. Miguel and his son, they're going to present, and please, Miguel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. How are you? I'm very glad to stay today with you. Please let me introduce Axel to you to help us with the presentation and to be as our translator. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Thank you to Justin Whittle to invite us to this webinar. We're so glad to be here. And in behalf of my father, Miguel, and Rogelio Sosa, who is also co-founder of Nopalimex, we're glad to present this to FAO. And just a second, let me share my screen. Okay, great. This company is called Nopalimex. Nopalimex, we're going to talk about us. Nopalimex have been created to create biogas and biomass. But first, we would like to present in behalf of Rogelio and Miguel, founders of Nopalimex and pioneers of the generation of biogas with nopal in Mexico. In Mexico and the world, we appreciate the invitation of FAO through Justin Whittle and for allowing our work to be known beyond the borders of Mexico. Nopalimex already has 3 patents about creating biogas and biomass from nopal. The first patent is being created to obtaining calorific energy in substitution of LP and natural gas, and also electricity generation from nopal biomass. The second patent takes first patent principles and improves anaerobic process in 2 stages to create biofuel for vehicles. And the third one holds calorific energy in substitution of LP and natural gas and creation of biofuel for vehicles from avocado residues. Nopalimex is a company with 11 years of experience in the planting and transformation of nopal created on purpose to produce energy using biogas with 3 factors. The first one is nopal production of at least 600 tons per hectare per year. It is a national and international, a higher national and international average that normally it is 100 tons per year per hectare. And the second point, it is the methane content of 72% of methane at the first phase. Normally, in the average, when you obtain from 56 to 62% of methane, and in here it is from the first stage 72. After some cleaning, some process cleaning, we obtain 99.02% of methane, which is almost pure. And the third key, it is the production of 100 cubic meters of biogas per ton of nopal. We generate different types of energy using biogas. The first one, and we are very glad about this one, it is automobile biofuel to replace fossil fuels or LP gas or natural gas. The second one, it is heat by replacing LP gas or natural gas. Although electricity using generators that use biogas. And we also are specialists in the treatment of diverse organic wastes with successful experience with avocado and nopal residues, including sargassum. In here in Mexico, we call it sargasso, but it is sargassum. And in our energy sustainability laboratory, we also produce organic fertilizers with water residue process. This means that nothing is a waste. We use everything. It is almost like a circle. Since the plantation, since we cut it, we convert it in gas, and we put it back into the soil. We have 2 plants in operation. The first one, and the one that works as a laboratory, it is Zitácuaro. And the second one, and the biggest one right now, it is Periban at Michoacán, Mexico. The plant extension with 16 million liters of biomass, and it has been commissioned in September of 2020. The expansion of this plant will be to 20 million liters at the biodigester, and will be commissioned in October 2021. Although here in Mexico, we receive the National Labor Award because of this project, because it has been a lot of work, although, but like a disruption into the market and a disruption into the way that we create biogas from nopal. In here, we're biorefineries construction specialists with environmental advantages. And in this picture, we like this picture because you can see the size of the biodigester. There's Miguel Aque and Rogelio Sosa standing above the biodigester, which looks huge. In order to create all of that, we have strategic alliances with institutions and companies, here national companies and international companies. Here in Mexico, we have the Tecnológico Nacional, the Institution of Clean Energies and Electricity, and UNIDO, which it is from United Nations as well. And here we look some advantages from planting nopal into the environment. which mitigates CO2, and that creates social and economic advantages by creating jobs and wealth. Although we have soil improvement and reforestation, because the soil gets some enrichment of the soil, getting nutrients and some space by the roots of the nopal. Although the nopal captures CO2 by itself in a higher rate than other plants. Just a second. Yes, by other plants. The impacts of our technology. Our technology has a positive impact of three fundamental aspects. As I already said, social, by creating jobs, because we have to plant these nopals, we have to cut these nopals, and we have to put this nopal to shred it or crush it to put it inside of the biodigester. So this creates jobs. And the economic aspect, it is because we, well, not just we, but the community around us gets a better and profitable aspects from this biogas, and they can get cheaper fuel for their vehicles. Actually, this fuel has been used in the buses of the community and from the government. The environmental, it is very positive because it reduces the generation of greenhouse gases and also reduce the carbon footprint. And in conclusion of these impacts, is the nopal represents a real food alternative for humanity and generates clean and renewable and sustainable energy. In here we can look some plantations about nopal, what we were talking previously, to get 600 tons of nopal per hectare per year. And this was the second vehicle that Nopalimex created that uses biogas nopal to run. This is the very first plant that we were talking previously. This is Zitácuaro at Mexico. In here we can look that we have two digesters and a very small refueling station, and in the back we can look the nopal plantation. The nopal plantation is a lot bigger than we can look in here, but it is in general the picture about it. In here we can look a very quick process about the generation of biogas from the biomass of nopal. In the first step, we have the reception of the residues, of nopal residues, and the second stage crushes the nopal. In here, after the crushing, we load the reactor. The reactor, by anaerobic process, which is the first step, creates the biogas. After the getting some biogas, we put it into a purifier of H2S and CO2 to get an improvement of the content of methane. Which is the biogas production. The sixth step is that this biogas, it is ready to be loaded into the vehicles as an automotive biofuel. It is a very quick way to see this process, how to create biogas. And in here we can look the first automobile that has been created or converted to run with biogas, which is the little car, the black car that we look above. And we also can see a little bit deeper the refueling station. And Russia actually made an interview in here, and they put this as a title: "Forget about petrol. Mexico start a new era of automobile propulsion, nopal cactus based." So they also believe that this is a great alternative to the biofuel, or to get a cleaner fuel for vehicles. And thank you very much. We're looking forward to know better about everybody. And if you wanted to know us better, you can visit this web page that is from us. And this YouTube link, it is just a first or a quick review about us, not made by us, but by other people here in Mexico, from news and from paper news. And a huge company here that is called Televisa. They made several videos for us. And you can look further videos after this one. And I would like to give thanks again to Justin Riddle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miguel and Axel. Thank you for the excellent presentation. We now have 134 participants attending our webinar. So thanks also the attendance for attending this excellent webinar. Before I forget, I would like to remind everybody that you're going to have the Cactus International Congress in Brazil. It's going to happen from 28th to 31st of March 2022. We're going to go in a hybrid format with in person. If you're able to travel to Brazil, that would be great. But we understand because of the COVID situation, some people cannot travel. So we're also going to have the online version. We have several questions here I will try to address. Some of them were already addressed for the audience or for the speakers, some of the speakers. But one of the questions is related to the economical sustainability. Is it sustainable? And I think maybe Miguel and Axel could, and I'll ask the speakers to briefly address the question so that we have more time to address, most of the questions. So if you're muted, if you can unmute and briefly just mention the economical sustainability of the biogas from ethanol. And I think before I give you the word, I think we need to think about different scales, right? Like you present like an industrial scale of operation, but there is also probably the household in the remote areas that they can also do. So that could be a different option. So please, yeah, briefly, Miguel or Axel, you're muted. You need to unmute the microphone. Can you unmute the microphone, please? Miguel and Axel. Yeah.
Yes,
good.
for sure. It is very sustainable because getting 600 tons per hectare per year creates a lot of biomass, and that creates a lot more of biogas. And these create, making a circle, these create a lot of economic and wealth around the community, because you get a lot of biogas. This biogas can be used as a calorific energy and will be cheaper as an LP gas or as a natural gas here at Mexico. Although here the gasoline or the fuel for cars, it is very expensive, and it's becoming more expensive. And this fuel, let's make a comparison. Let's say 1 liter of gasoline here in Mexico costs a little bit more of $1, and producing this biofuel, it is around 60 cents of a dollar per liter of gas. So this creates a lot of economic aspects. So by not spending more money to get these energies, and the people around can get jobs about it. Although Rogelio has a cheap tortilla company, and they use this gas for their company, and that reduces the cost. And although we can create tortillas nopal based, which is another kind of food here in Mexico.
Very good, very good. Let me get some of the questions so that you don't have a whole lot of time. I'm not going to be able to address all the questions, but there are several questions, Durba, for you in terms of you seem to have a lot of focus on irrigation and water on your research, and maybe in some of the questions they mentioned that the soil and the nutrients, they're also very important. So could you address that, please?
Yes, that's very interesting question. Yeah, as we use the different irrigation levels, and so we use very low planting density that I saw, in the chat box, because we want to account for the overlapping of irrigation from different treatment, and also so we separated our plot by using blocks. So also regarding the fertilization trial, that was the first trial that we conducted for the irrigation using different irrigation treatment, and our next trial, which is in progress in Parlier, that is going to be our fertilizer trial. We already evaluated 14 different Opuntia accession, and for the feasibility which Opuntia accession are more biomass producer, and out of them we were able to find, we were able to get like 2 Opuntia accession, on Opuntia ficus indica and Opuntia coccinifera, and we are going to use those accession for our fertilizer treatment in Parlier, California.
Okay, can you also address the plant population that you use in your trials? That's another question down here.
Yeah, that's the plant population we use was 1,418 plants per hectare. Okay,
and do you think you could go higher on that? I know that it's a arid place, but have you tried different populations?
Yeah, we haven't tried that, but we are thinking to increase higher than the irrigation treatment, because when we are going to do the fertilizer treatment, there is no any effect of irrigation overlapping, so we can provide small space between the plot, so that we can include more plants per hectare.
Okay, very good. Some questions are related to the potential of cactus in India, and I would say ICARDA is with his local partners is doing a phenomenal job, and Dr. Munir Lohachi was attending the webinar, and I would say to refer to his office there to see the potential in India. And in Tunisia, the similar question. I know Tunisia is very strong on cactus research. Our friends there, Ali Nefzawi and Hichem Ben Salem has been doing, and many others, a lot of research on cactus for many years. So I would say to refer to them. So any, in terms of, well, some of the, go ahead, Justin.
We also have another question about the bioproducts made and the waste that's made from bioenergy. So I wanted maybe Miguel or Durba to maybe explain a little bit more about some of these byproducts that come from of the process of making bioenergy. So maybe pass the floor first to Durba.
Yeah, briefly.
Yeah, that's again great question. And in terms of the bio, the waste product from the bioenergy production, as I saw one of the slide for the biodigester, that and also dry matter content of Opuntia species very low. From our irrigation field trial, we found that the dry matter content was 8 to 10%, among all the species that we tested. And so in terms of using water for the biogas production or the bioethanol production, there is not much need of the water for the processing. And we haven't exactly evaluated the potential, the estimate for the bioenergy production from the waste, but we found that for one of the experiment that conducted in our lab, she found that using soil microbial consortium like Pectobacterium cacti was found to be very effective to degrade the biomass of the cladode. So using the different microbial species, we'll be able to use full potential of whatever wastage we use. As well as I already show in one of the slides, researchers use co-digestion of a slaughter waste house or other kind of wastage, and with Opuntia ficus indica or Opuntia species that improve the potential of improved bioethanol production. So
thanks Durba. We only have a little more than 2 minutes. There is one interesting question here, and I'll ask for Miguel. In your diagram, it looks like you use water in the process, and although cactus has 90% of water, could you address that very briefly, Miguel and Axel? Why do you still need to use water, and how much in terms of percentage you put water? You're muted. Your microphone is muted.
Okay, yes, we use a little bit of water because the process itself needed. Considering that Nopal has 90% of water, we just add a little bit more. And after this process to get the or the biogas, we retrieve the residual water, and we convert this water as we convert this water to be as a fertilizer. Okay. So we use everything from this process.
Nada se desperdicia, todo se aprovecha.
We don't waste anything. Everything is being used.
And also, can you explain how you purify your methane, your biogas to get 99% methane? If you can explain briefly.
Yeah, just a second. ¿Cómo se limpia el biogás?
Se limpia por diversos procesos tradicionales. Pasamos el biogás a través de procesos de limpieza con fierro y con presión de agua.
We clean the gas by water pressure, and also with some metals that get or retrieve the CO2 and C2O.
En piedras también volcánicas.
And some volcanic stones makes the cleaning as well.
Y un proceso de secado.
And some drying process from the gas.
Okay, thank you. I have a quick question for Olivier. Olivier, how do you think FAO can help in this process of maybe expanding this biogas in semi-arid regions using cactus as feedstock?
I mean, for us, if we are asked by member countries to assess the potential of bioenergy production from any kind of feedstock, then we have an approach to do that where we look at the availability of the biomass, but also the use of natural resources like water and land. And we make sure there's a mechanism where we make sure it doesn't compete with the production of food. So once we have the assessment of the potential from the biomass point of view, we look at techno-economic options to produce the bioenergy, considering job creation costs and so on. And we've done that in several countries. And so we haven't actually worked with Cactus, but I mean, we can do that if requested.
Very good, very good. We are already over time. I want to thank all of the speakers. It was a great webinar, I think. We had a great attendance, 131. And again, if you want to join CactusNet, please, in the chat box, there are several links that Justin put along the presentations. Please join the network. Is a great place. Also, I want to remind you about the International Cactus Congress in Brazil in March. The registrations are already open. Please do so and plan to attend. It's going to be a great venue for us to interact and discuss potential of cactus in drylands. Thank you very much. I appreciate the attendance and the speakers. Have a good night or evening or good, wherever you are. Thank you very much.